Once upon a time, in the village of Imboko, there lived a woman named Kayamika. Kayamika was known for her delicious food. Everyone in the village would talk about her cooking. People would travel from nearby villages just to taste her special dishes. But there was one strange thing about her food: no one knew how she made it so tasty. Kayamika had a small food stall by the market square. She sold jollof rice, fried plantains, and pepper soup. Every day, people lined up to buy her food. Even though she charged more than others, people didn't mind because they loved how it tasted. One day, a young girl named Zoe, who was very curious, decided to find out Kayamika's secret. Zoe loved to help her mother cook at home, and she dreamed of becoming the best cook in the village one day. So, she asked her mother, "Mama, how come Kayamika's food is so sweet? What does she put in it?" Her mother, named Kolechi, smiled and said, "Only Kayamika knows the secret to her food. But remember, my daughter, some things are best left unknown." But Zoe couldn't stop thinking about it. Every night, she would dream of cooking as well as Kayamika. One day, after school, she decided to follow Kayamika home to see what she was doing. Zoe hid behind a large baobab tree near Kayamika's house. She watched as Kayamika entered her kitchen and began to prepare her famous jollof rice. Everything looked normal at first. Kayamika chopped onions, tomatoes, and peppers. But then, something strange happened. Kayamika went into a small room and came back holding a handful of hair. Zoe's eyes widened in shock. "Is that her hair?" Zoe whispered to herself. It looked like Kayamika had cut some hair from her body, specifically, her pubic hair. Zoe watched in horror as Kayamika mixed the hair into the rice and stirred it. Zoe gasped, covering her mouth so she wouldn't make a sound. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. How can she put her pubic hair in food, she thought, feeling both disgusted and curious at the same time. Kayamika stirred the rice with a calm look on her face, as if this was something she had done many times before. Then, she tasted the food and smiled with satisfaction. Zoe's heart was racing. She wanted to run back home, but something kept her there. She needed to understand why Kayamika did this strange thing. After Kayamika finished cooking, she packed her food in bowls and carried them to the market. Zoe quietly followed behind, trying to stay out of sight. At the market, as usual, a long line of people gathered at Kayamika's stall. They bought her food and ate it with smiles on their faces, praising how delicious it was. Zoe felt confused. How can they love it so much if they knew what was inside, she thought. She wanted to warn them but was scared no one would believe her. After all, who would think a famous cook like Kayamika would use such a strange ingredient? That evening, Zoe went back home and told her mother, Kolechi, everything she had seen. Kolechi listened carefully, her face serious. When Zoe finished, her mother sighed deeply. "My child, this is a secret I had hoped you wouldn't learn." Zoe was surprised. "Mama, you knew. You knew what she was doing?" Kolechi nodded slowly. "Yes, I did. Many years ago, Kayamika's grandmother was also a famous cook. She had a special way of making food that people loved. She passed this secret down to her children, and now, Kayamika has it." Zoe frowned, still confused. "But, Mama, why would anyone put their hair in food? Isn't that dirty?" Kolechi explained, "It's not just about the hair, my dear. In some old traditions, a woman's body is believed to hold special powers. Kayamika's family believes that their hair, especially from certain parts of the body, can add magic to their food, making it irresistible. That's why people love her food so much." Zoe couldn't believe what she was hearing. "But, Mama, that's not right. Shouldn't we tell everyone?" Kolechi shook her head. People won't listen. They are too blinded by how good the food tastes. Besides, Kayamika's family has been doing this for generations. If you tell, it could cause trouble for our family too. Sometimes, it's better to let things be. Zoe didn't know what to do. She didn't want to keep such a secret, but she also didn't want to bring trouble to her family. That night, she lay in bed, thinking about what she had seen and heard. The next morning, Zoe woke up with a plan. If she couldn't tell the village, maybe she could learn how to make her own food just as delicious, but without using anything strange like hair. She decided to keep watching Kayamika, hoping to discover another way to cook just as well. Little did Zoe know, her journey to uncover the truth would take her deeper into the mysteries of her village and its hidden traditions. Zoe's curiosity grew stronger each day. She couldn't shake the strange sight from her mind, but she also became more determined to find her own way of cooking delicious food, without using magic or strange ingredients. Every afternoon, after school, Zoe would quietly follow Kayamika, observing how she cooked, hoping to catch a clue that didn't involve pubic hair. One day, while watching from behind the baobab tree again, Zoe noticed something different. Kayamika was preparing a new dish she had never made before. This time, there were no strange ingredients, just regular spices and vegetables from the market. Zoe felt a flicker of hope. Maybe it's not magic after all, she whispered to herself. Kayamika sang softly as she cooked, adding a pinch of salt here and a dash of pepper there. Zoe could smell the food from where she hid, and it made her stomach rumble. As she watched closely, she noticed that Kayamika always added something last, a small bottle filled with a strange, clear liquid. It wasn't water, and it wasn't oil. What is that? Zoe wondered. It wasn't hair this time, but something still seemed secretive. Kayamika only used a tiny drop of the liquid, but it seemed to be the final touch in all her dishes. Zoe was determined to find out what it was. The next morning, before Kayamika went to the market, Zoe sneaked into her kitchen when no one was around. Her heart pounded as she carefully opened the cupboards, searching for the small bottle she had seen. After a few minutes, she found it tucked behind the pots. The bottle was plain, with no label, and inside was the strange liquid. Zoe held it up to the light, trying to figure out what it could be. She uncorked the bottle and took a cautious sniff. To her surprise, it had no smell at all. Zoe was puzzled. Is this another kind of magic, she thought. Just then, she heard footsteps outside. Quickly, she put the bottle back in its place and slipped out of the house just in time. That evening, Zoe told her mother about the bottle. Kelechi looked thoughtful and said, I've heard of something like this before. It's said that some families in our village keep a special liquid, passed down from generation to generation. They believe it gives them power, not just in cooking, but in everything they do. But, Mama, Zoe asked, what if I don't want to use any of these strange things? I want to make good food, but with ingredients that everyone knows. Kelechi smiled proudly. You have a good heart, Zoe. You don't need magic to become a great cook. What matters most is your passion and hard work. If you truly want to be the best, then focus on learning the right skills. The magic will come from your love for what you do. Zoe felt encouraged by her mother's words. She decided that, instead of relying on shortcuts or secret ingredients, she would practice and learn to cook with care and creativity. But even though she was determined, she couldn't forget about the mysterious bottle. She knew that Kayamika's secret wasn't just the hair, but something much deeper. As Zoe continued her journey to become a great cook, she realized there were still many mysteries in the village of Imboko. She wondered what other secrets were hidden in the kitchens of the elders, and whether the old traditions held lessons she had yet to understand. And so, Zoe's quest was just beginning. As months passed, Zoe practiced her cooking every day. She experimented with spices, tried different recipes, and paid close attention to the way flavors worked together. Soon, her family began to praise her food. Even neighbors would comment on the lovely smells coming from her home. Though she didn't use magic or strange ingredients, Zoe's food was becoming just as delicious as Kayamika's. One day, the village held a big festival, and all the cooks were invited to showcase their best dishes. Kayamika, of course, was there, her stall crowded with people eager to taste her food. But this year, Zoe had her own stall too, proudly serving her jollof rice and fried plantains. At first, everyone rushed to Kayamika's stall as usual, but soon, a few curious villagers began to wander over to Zoe's stall, drawn by the sweet aroma of her cooking. One by one, they tasted her food and their eyes lit up in surprise. "This is amazing," they said. "It's even better than Kayamika's." Word spread quickly through the festival, and before Zoe knew it, her stall was swarmed with customers. Even Kayamika noticed the shift and became worried. She tasted her own food, but for the first time, it didn't taste as special as it usually did. As the festival went on, Zoe's food became the talk of the village. People wondered how someone so young could cook so well without any magic or tricks. Zoe felt proud, knowing her hard work had paid off. She didn't need to use pubic hair or secret potions, just passion, practice, and love for her cooking. Later that evening, after the festival, Kayamika approached Zoe. She didn't look angry or upset. Instead, she smiled and said, "You've done something I didn't think possible, Zoe. You've become a great cook without needing the old ways. I see now that you have a special gift." Zoe was surprised by Kayamika's kindness. "Thank you," she said, bowing her head respectfully. "But I didn't do it alone. My mother always told me that the magic comes from love and hard work, not from shortcuts." Kayamika nodded thoughtfully. "Your mother is wise. My family's secret has brought us success, but maybe it's time to let go of the old traditions and embrace a new way." From that day on, Zoe and Kayamika became friends, and Kayamika even started to cook without her strange ingredients, inspired by Zoe's dedication. The village of Imboko soon had two famous cooks, but this time, both used only the finest, natural ingredients, and lots of love. And so, Zoe's journey to becoming the best cook wasn't about magic or secrets after all. It was about believing in herself, working hard, and following her heart.